my aunt told me it is well. It is well. Even without anybody telling me, the hug and telling me it is well. I don't understand how. I don't understand how I made it, but it was God. By the way, I don't know whether you have ever found yourself in a situation. You look at the whole situation and you ask yourself, by the way, how did I make it? You know, it's like as if you are challenging yourself. When you look back, you're like, huh? How? How did it happen? And you know, you cannot even understand what actually took place. Right now, I'm having a look at some years back then, how I made it to go to China. Sometimes I don't understand, and I say there must have been a superpower from above. And apart from that, there was so many things that I cannot understand how it happened. But I would say that, you know, sometimes when you are going through a difficult situation and someone says to you that everything happens for a reason, it never makes sense, eh? And yes, it never makes sense at all, eh? But with time, it does make sense, all right? um so hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Miss Karinge, for anybody who is new on this channel. And if at all it is your very first time, you know, coming to this YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell. Right, so today I think it's going to be more or less of a story time. I don't often share a lot of my stuff, but maybe I want to share this one because number one, I feel like I'm healed, and number two, maybe I would want to encourage someone out there. I don't know whom I'm going to encourage, one or two persons. Yeah, enough. Yeah, you know. Yes. And I was trying to think about which part of the story to give you because it's very long. I don't know which one to give and which one not to, but I will try and give the most important one. And the most important one, and how, you know, yes, the most important one, which I think maybe it's going to be helpful to someone. So all right, how did I come to go to China? I know the people whom I have met on my master classes on imports. I know some of you, I have shared with you my journey, and because I think sometimes it's important for you to know why we always, you know, people have traveled to China, but they have traveled for different reason. And I also think mine was a different reason or a different purpose. All right. So but people don't know the reason what actually pushed me, and that's why I'm here to share this out with you guys. So I was back in college, and I was actually around my third year. And I know whatever I'm going to share this, I'm going to share it because I know it's a long time since it happened, but I'm going to share it anyway because if at all I'm able to, you know, tell you today, it's because I am healed. All right. So I was in the university, and when I was in campus, I can't remember whether I was in second year. I think second year, early yes, early second year. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. Yes, yes. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and when she actually she got diagnosed, but back then we didn't have a lot of, you know, information as what cancer it is. But of course it shocked us because we have had stories, you know, unajua ile story unasemanga nimesikia fulani fulani yako na ABCD. It was like that. And so it was the same. So of course you get scared, you know, when unajua kuna vile unafikirianga sometimes disease zingine zinakuanga za watu wengine, you know that thing. You think it can't knock to your door. Sometimes it happens. We are just human, yeah. So when my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, it was never easy. I'll tell you the truth. It was never easy for the entire family, both emotionally, financially, everything. It was just messy. And when she got diagnosed, I I remember it was very tough for my dad because he actually didn't even speak it up with other relatives about what my mom was eating too. I remember he could only he could only tell them, oh, it's just like a growth, eh, and a growth too. But as we knew, so we were really struggling emotionally to handle it when you don't want to tell people what actually is going on, okay? And then apart from suffering emotionally, it actually hit us hard financially also, and it was never easy. It hit us so much financially because it was never easy at all for all of us. So, as I was saying, sorry for that, my lighting had to go off, my ring light. So it was draining both emotionally and also financially. And when you're trying not to tell other people, and yet the burden financially, it was becoming too much. Because sometimes you don't want. I remember back then, I think maybe the major reason as to why we never wanted to tell people was because of the stigma that comes along with it. And I remember when the first time when I got the news that my mom had cancer was I guess it was during the long holidays and I was at home. So my dad and my mom had gone to the hospital, and then I was left back home to manage my parents' business. And when I was at home, I, I'm still expecting, oh, mlienda hosi, mliambiwa aje, those kind of things. So I called my dad and I asked him, and he told me, unfortunately, the growth that we thought it was growth, it has been confirmed to be cancer. So I remember I cried. Sometimes we cry. You don't know the details of what actually even is cancer. But I remember I cried so much with a lot of bitterness. But of course, with time, si atakuzoea sijui, you just let it be because hakuna kitu unaweza change. Some things you just leave it to the to the able hands of God, okay? So as it became so much draining financially, I remember at one point we left the long holiday. Immediately after this, we went back to school, and when I was going back to school, my dad gave me 1,000 from my village all the way to come to Nairobi for school. I used to live outside. I used to have rented my Kasingo house. So my dad has given me 1,000 Kenya shillings. There's no rent. That house requires gas, that house requires electricity, that house requires shopping. Of course, you need to buy books and pocket money, but my dad gave me 1,000. But I didn't question him. I didn't question him at all. Is this going to be enough? But I went back to school when I was, nimevunjika moyo. I don't know how I can help, with this situation. And my goodness, this story is overwhelming. I don't know how I can help with this situation. And also, I want to study. I want to study to make my life better. So I just took the 1,000 and I booked the bus, the matatu, to come to town. Back then, coming from my village, coming to CBD, it was around 350 to 400. So it was enough for transport, but what else can I do with that money? I don't know. But remember, I've always been a business lady all throughout, even during the campus. My former comrades can attest to this. So I remember the previous semester nilikuwa nimefanya tu biashara kidogo na nilikuwa nimejisavia 5k. But then I did the calculation. This 5,000 itanisaidia na nini? I used to pay rent ya 2,500. I pay rent na tumetoka long holiday, so ni rent plus deposit ka 5k. The 5k is gone. I don't have food, I don't have shopping, and then so it means if I use the 5,000, I'm not going to have another small business unless I wait for help. I'm one of the help beneficiaries unless I wait for the help loan. But then again, it wasn't adding up, so I decided not to go to school. When I came to Nairobi, I went to one of my relatives, my cousin, God bless her wherever she is. I went to her house, and maybe my dad is going to hear this for the very first time. Dad, if you see this, you're going to forgive me, right? So we went to one of my cousin's place, and I just wanted to share with someone, and tell them whatever is happening, because even us, we are actually affected, you know, emotionally. And I told her the entire situation. She didn't know that my mom was suffering from cancer. She just knew it was like a small growth which was being managed. And you know, whoever has a cancer patients, they know how chemotherapy and radiotherapy, they're expensive and they can be so much draining. So I went and I told her the situation. I remember she handled the case with a lot of maturity. She told me she might not be able to afford to pay my school fees, but she told me, instead of using this 5,000 to pay your rent, maybe you can stay in my house, and then I'll be giving you, you know, your daily pocket money to be commuting from my house all the way to your school, and then maybe the 5,000 you can use it to pay the school fees. So I used the 5,000 to pay a bit of the school fees, and she also added me some some little amount of money that I added to the school fees. Remember, I'm a HELB beneficiary, so HELB lazima katoke. Lazima katoke. And then my cousin could provide for me the school fees, you know, the transport. Because I remember back in campus, we were only required to pay half of the school fees to do the registration. Then the other half you can pay the other school fees at a later date. So I was good, niko na pesa ya kuregister, nimeingia shule nisome. Before the semester comes to an end, things gonna sort themselves. Yes, they will, because there is a powerful God in heaven. Alright, so that is what I did. And because I've always been a hustler, within a period of 1 month, I had actually sorted my things out, and I was able to move back to my house again, because I'm also a person who don't like staying in other places' houses, other people's houses. So within a month I was able to sort my things out, nikahaswaso kidogo kidogo. Mimi ndio kimbia Gikomba, nunua tu vitu kimbasely, uza huko kwa ma comrades kidogo kidogo, and I was able to go back and, you know, rent my own house. Yeah. So that was it. So during this time, after I shared with the relative, I remember, you know, later on, the issue was open that my mom is suffering from breast cancer, and you know, and it was, you know, you know, financially we were straining, so there was a fundraising, I remember, and people contributed. And I remember kwanza nikichangisha, mimi courage hiyo courage niko nayo sijui nimetoa wapi. I remember tukichangisha, I even took ile card ya kuchangisha to some of my lecturers, and I remember one of the lecturers by the name Dr. Kerema akinichangia. But we were with my friend Ruth, wherever she's, God bless you mama. We were with my friend Ruth, and akinipeleka twende huko kwa ma lecturer watatuchangia, and I was like no. But tukiwaambia that information, I remember machozi ilikuanga hapa, because even I don't want to talk about my mom has cancer. But anyway, the Harambe was successful, and my mom got some money for the treatment, you know, for his chemotherapy and radiotherapy. When we began the chemotherapy, my mom used to go to a very expensive hospital. Unajua ukigonjeka some diseases, sometimes you don't know where to go to, and sometimes sitaki ati natumia picha, but hospital tulikuwa tunaenda, it's a good hospital, but it was expensive. The name of that hospital iko hapo hivyo Mbagathi way. It's expensive. It's a good hospital, the services are good, but it was quite expensive. And I remember at one point tushafanywa harambe, tumekula pesa sijui ilikuwa 900 ama 800, tumekuliwa yote ikaenda. We were supposed to have a chemotherapy like kesho. Mimi when we were going to that hospital, it was Texas Cancer Center. When we were going to that hospital, tulikuwa tunaenda siku ya kwanza. Siku ya kwanza ni yako na daktari anaangalia patients, and then kesho mnarudi ndo anafanywa chemo or radiotherapy. So when we went, na pia mnatengeneza kadi ya NHIF. So when we went, we realized that of course pesa imeisha, and then kadi ya NHIF haikuwa inalipa, ilikuwa imeisha. And I remember I was so much broken. So I remember someone, tukiwa tunaongea na wagonjwa hapo hivyo, akaniambia enda kwa NHIF huko waelezea, watakusikiza. So mimi sikuwa ikuwa na courage. Whatever courage you are seeing me having today, it has been shaped out of all these, you know, things. So I remember nikitoka huko Texas nikaenda all the way mpaka huko kwa NHIF offices, nikaingia huko, and I remember nikiongelesha madam mwingine hapo hivyo akiniambia there's nothing we can do for you, kama imeisha. I remember I cried in that building, and how I was acting is not like me. I am, you know, I am acting out of ile uchungu nikona, na wauliza sasa mgonjwa kesho anafaa apatiwe kemo, mnataka akufe ama mnataka nini? You know, I talked a lot of a lot of things because of whatever I was, you know, experiencing emotionally, okay? But unfortunately there was nothing to be done. But I thank God a way came out. My aunt akafikiria haraka akatuambia Kenyatta is cheaper, so we had to plan a way venye tutapeleka Mathe Kenyatta because it's cheap. Hata tukishwa 30 or 20 it's better rather than mnaambiwa kesho 150k mnatoa wapi na mmeporwa mkaisha. So yes, we tried that one and it actually worked, and my mom had chemotherapy. Anyway, forget about my mom's journey on cancer. So whatever pushed me to actually go to China, kitambo sana, somebody who had gone majuu alikuwa ameniambia, Moni, unaona ukijitahidi upate B ama B+, ukipata B ama B+, lazima nitakuinvite kuja huku majuu some huko. Huku ni kuzuri, and then you could hear the nice stories kuja majuu, ABCD, stuff like those ones. So I remember I did my first form 4. I didn't perform so well, but I scored a B-. Back then, the previous year it didn't qualify me to go to university, so I opted to repeat. When I repeated, cluster points zika drop, so I was still qualifying to go to university, and I remember I was called at Laikipia University to go and do education. I opted kuendelea kurudia, so at least I performed well and I got my B+. But I waited, and the thing is never happened. It's like those uncles and aunties who promise you jobs when you finish school, and it never happened. But so remember ule mtu ashanidunga na ile whatever. So hapo ndo nimejua watu wanaendanga majuu, sikuwaijua sana. So when my mom got sick na tumekula pesa yote ya harambee ikaisha, we cannot go back to people and tell them we need another harambee. Watu huchoka, let me tell you. Sorry to say so. I'm hoping no one will see this, but people sometimes they get tired of you and they talk shit because they were talking. And every day I even pray God to help me to forgive them whatever I had. I pray God to help me to forgive them whatever they talked. Some of them could say, oh, mnachangisha hata atakufa tu. People talk. Mungu tuwasamehe na wape, you know. Umahewe. So out of that, when the situation became worse, I got affected, and I thought, pada niendelea kusoma university, I'm even straining. I think I should go out, even if kama niko Gulf kufanya kazi ya nyumba, and try help my dad with this thing. I cannot watch my mom die when I'm not doing anything, na mimi ni mtu mkubwa. Juu hata ile kazi nafanya campus, sio ni pocket money yangu tu, haiwezi saidia much, you know. So that is when I began research. Research, nashindwa ni wapi, hata sijui mtu nitauliza, I didn't know where. Nikaambia my younger sister, and when I told my younger sister, kaniambia, haya, by the way unajua fulani wa fulani anakuanga China. Nikamuuliza, kwani China kunaendangwa? So I couldn't remember the name of that girl. I don't want to mention names, but she's my good friend up to date. I didn't want to sorry, I'm losing my mind. I didn't remember her real names. I could only remember her English name. So mimi nikaenda Facebook nikatafuta. Naniletea kama naitwa Mary, natafuta Mary zimepoa mingi Facebook zinaenda. Lucky me. Juu nilikuwa naangalia natafuta profile. Lucky me. I saw her. Alikuwa anashinanga kipost picha zake. Nikampata. Nikamtumia ka message pale kwa Messenger, and she responded and gave me her number. And that is where the journey actually began. So when she gave me the number, she told me I can go to China and I can start doing teaching English, and I was like, what do I require? So everything was done, nikaanza process. All right, so remember back saa hizo nilikuwa nimechacha tu biashara, and nilikuwa nimefunzwa hii kitu inaitangwa writing, academic writing. I have article and academic writing campus life nimeifanya viproper. So nilikuwa nishaanza kufanya, so I could hustle. So during this time I remember nilikuwa na hustle na save kidogo. Alright, na save kidogo. So I remember hata nikichukua passport, sasa siambi anybody, nikichukua passport, I took my passport, nililipwa pesa ya writing. Back then we used to pay 4500. Nilipwa pesa ya writing, immediately nika apply passport. It's just a journey of faith. Na sijui, na nishaambiwa mpaka kuna agency fee, sijui nitatoa wapi, but I'm walking a journey of faith. I have to do things, I have to help my family, I have to save my mom. I cannot watch my dad. Hii kitu ikimaliza, kama naweza kwa nifanye kazi, nitakuwa natuma kama monthly pesa kama ka 30 ama ka 40k, inasaidia my mom sickness. I'm good with it. So that is where I began, and nikaambiwa pesa ya agent, nikasema hii lazima leo nitapata, so nitakuwa nikiwork nikisave and that is how I began. And in the process of going on in the journey, bado sija graduate. The year that I graduated, early that year, ndo nikuja kumaliza the final semester. Naenda kumalizia semester ya mwisho shule, but bado na process story ya kwenda China. Tukakuja December nyumbani kwa hiyo short holiday, then we went back to school. Unfortunately, my mom got sick. My mom, tulikuwa tumekuwa broke financially, so mwezi wa 11, I guess mwezi wa 11 na December, my mom was not done chemotherapy because hatukuwa na pesa. Hata fare ya kukuja Nairobi we didn't have even that money ya kuja Nairobi. So my mom didn't come for the chemotherapy. Again, January tu pesa tukapatikana. I remember we got some family members who actually visited, wakatuachia tu pesa kuona madhe. Hivyo tu mambo tu ya God, pesa ikapatikana. So madhe akakuja January chemotherapy. When she came back for chemotherapy, na akarudi nyumbani. But when my mom went back home, alianza kusumbuliwa na kifua. And I remember calling her kumuuliza, nikimcall nasikia anahema. So ninamuuliza ni nini, ananiambia. But anasema nilisikia wale manases wakisema ati immunity yangu, juu alikuwa na shida ya immunity kwenanga chini. Sijui kama ni juu ya chemo, I think so. Alisikia manases ama madaktari wakiambiana immunity yake iko poa, so wanaweza muongeza. Sijui kama ni dose hiyo chemo wanaweza muongeza. So I guess that is what happened. That is what she used to tell us. So hakuwa na shida ya kifua, dada na shida kwani our mom amepata shida ya kifua ama WhatsApp. So anampeleka kwa clinic, hapo hivyo wanarudi. So vinyana situation imekuwa serious, ndo akamrudishanga hosi Kenyatta, akakuja Kenyatta. So I remember aliletwa Kenyatta, nikaambiwa mama amekuwa admitted. The whole night walishinda, day and night wameshinda admission process. So the following day nilikuja asubuhi na mapema nikidhani nawaletea kachai hivyo hosi Kenyatta. Tukakuja, we met with some other relatives, akaadmitiwa Kenyatta. And when alikuwa admitted Kenyatta, tukamwacha amekuwa admitted. I remember during this time amekuwa admitted, nilimuona saa 7. Nikaacha my dad wakigoja watamuona saa 10 tena. Saa 10 ama 5 hiyo time. So mimi after nimemuona saa 7, I went to meet somebody else mwenye nilikuwa nataka kukopa pesa. Nilikuwa nataka kukopa pesa niende China. Na risk na kopa everyone. Na kopa, na hata sijui courage tukapo ya kukopa watu hata sijaifikiria. Nikaenda kumkopa pesa, tukamit naye kwa hoteli, nikimwambia brother, sikuwa mwambia story ya madhe, nimwambia tu nisaidie pesa. Nitamrefund tu nikiajiriwa kazi. Sina kazi. Na pesa nakopa sikopi pesa kidogo. Nasema unaweza nisaidia na ka 100k. So we met and then that was it. So the person told me to give him some time, atanipea feedback. So I went back home, and nikikuwa nyumbani, place nilikuwa naishi, I used to live in Rongai. we were living with my sister. So when I went back home, the friend nikasema acha nibomoe nywele imechapa. I remember nikiwa katikati ya kubomoa nywele, nilipigiwa simu, I was called. Nikaambiwa kama leo naenda kuona madhe. Nikamwambia my auntie called, nikamwambia mimi sina pesa, nitakuja kumuona hiyo siku nyingine, nitafute pesa kidogo ya fare. Akaniambia hapana, unaweza tu kuja umuone, ni vizuri kumuona, afadhali nikutumie fare. Akili yangu ilikimbia sana, ikakimbia sana, akaniambia things are not okay. So I went to the salon. Nikaja sistangu, sikumwambia anything. Nikaambia sistangu aoge, nataka twende mahali. Nikakimbia kwa salon, nilikuwa nimeweka wigi. Nikamwambia wanitoanisha. So when I went to the salon, I remember nilipata watu wengi. So nikaambiwa ni chill. Nilikuwa nimeketi hivi kuchill, nili overthink. Somebody else called me akaniambia I'm on my way to Kenyatta. Unakuja? Hii kitu ikaniambia things are not okay. Na kitu ikaniambia maybe mamangu ako ni kuenda naenda. Nililia kwa hiyo salon and I'm not talking to anybody. Ushailia mpaka unatokwa na hiyo roho tunasema. And everybody in the salon is like, what's going on? Nililia. Wakaacha everybody else, wakakuja wakanitoanisha nywele. Wakanifanya kabroda haraka haraka, hata sikutaka imalizike, nikalipa nikatoka. Nikaenda. So nikamwambia sistangu tujitayarishe haraka haraka, tukatoka tukaenda. We went running. Tukifika tukaona hii masaa ya sijui ilikuwa kama ni saa 8 juu wanafunganga masaa ya kuingia kwa ward. We went running, nikamwambia sistangu tukimbia kabisa, hiyo iko karibu kufungwa, but at least tuko na 5 minutes we will have some time kumuona saa hizi after tugoje saa 10. So we went running, sijui ilikuwa, nakumbuka Kenyatta sijui ilikuwa kama ni 8th floor, I think so. Tukakimbia vile tulikimbia, hapo nje kuna place ukitoka kwa rift hapo Kenyatta kuna veranda hivyo, and then sasa kuna wadi zinaendaga hivi na hivi. I saw so many relatives. I'm like, hasa hawa wengine hata sijawaona for a long time, and my heart told me everything is not okay. Time ya kuingia ilikuwa ishafungwa. So I went, mimi kwa vazi kwangu nikalia. My sister started screaming. Kaanza kuscream. And my aunt told me it is well. She's well. Even without anybody telling me, the hug and telling me it is well. I knew my mom was gone. It is funny, I don't know why I'm crying. It's 6 years down the line. And that was it. She was gone. Na mimi jua nishaanza process yangu na bado nakopa pesa za kwenda China, you know, everywhere. Anyway, may she rest in peace. So after everything, I took a break and I struggled for about several months. I struggled for several months. After my mom passed away, nikijaribu kusave, I told myself I wanted to go for this journey, and I was telling myself I also think out of whatever has happened, I need a new environment to breathe. But because nilikuwa nishaanza safari ya kwenda, I will still go, but I also need a new environment to go. So because nilikuwa nishajua njia ya kwenda China, I am going that way. So later on, after several months, I got successful, lakini nilikopa. Si ati nilikuwa na do. Nilikopa mpaka nakupa mtu. Unaweza nisaidia na 3k nilipe rent? Aki nimesota. Si rent. Manya nilidanganya ni rent, si rent. Kwa kwenda China. So nilikopa, and God is faithful. Nikapata. Pesa ikatosha, and I traveled to China. So, how I made it to China, up to date, I don't understand. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I even thought the other day, ninaogopeshwa na pesa fulani nataka. How did I make back then a student? How did I make then? How did I make back then? I don't know. I don't know. But it has been God. And God gave me the chance. Out of that difficult scenario, He gave me the chance to go to China. China yenye niliishi kutamani kuenda, nikaambiwa na mtu mmoja lazima nilikuwa na 2 million ndio niende. I went. And now today I went to teach English. I taught English. I also visited a number of factories during the weekends, and I'm happy for whom I am today. I am just happy for whom I am today, because out of that, it's not a good thing. Up to today, sometimes I find myself crying, but I thank God. It pushed me. It was like a force that pushed me to an extent that I never thought I would be. I had been told, utafanya biashara pimpo, tafuta milioni mbili. That person wanted to discourage me, and that's why I came back to YouTube after I know you can import even with 10k. With 20k is a small person, mtu wakamfuko kadogo, you can. That's why I'm here on YouTube, because I want to encourage you that you can start that business with 30,000, with your small 40,000, with your small 50,000. Hakuna milioni mbili unahitaji do you start it. You can do it. You can do it. Okay? So, that is it. I think that is our story time for today. I have tried to cut it. I actually wanted to summarize the major points and how I came to go to China, because sometimes I don't understand how. I don't understand how. I don't understand how I made it, but it was God, and everything happens for a reason. Whoever is going through a difficult thing, sometimes you might not understand. Even today, I don't understand why all these things had to happen to me, but anyway, for the glory of God. And maybe sometime you'll come to understand, and sometimes you might never understand. Just let things be as they are. All right. All right, guys, so as usual in our Chinese corner, now that I've talked about my mom, in Chinese, how do we call mom? We say mama, mama. Honestly, every day I miss my mama. 我想我的妈妈，我想我的妈妈。I miss my mom. Alright, guys, that is it for our today's video. Until next time, bye bye, and I love you.